David Cameron, this morning we were reporting that he's made his final offer to broadcasters over the TV election debates. He says he'll take part in one. He wants 7 leaders in that debate. He's also ruled out a head-to-head with the Labour leader Ed Miliband. We're going to cross now live to North London and get the view of Tony Blair's former Director of Communications, Alistair Campbell. Alistair, good morning. Good to talk to you. His argument is that he has what everybody else wants and that he has more to lose than to gain. Is that not a good strategy?
I don't think it's a strategy at all. And if that is his argument, why doesn't he say that publicly? What he's trying to do is weasel and wriggle out of having these debates because he's scared about losing them, because he doesn't actually have a great record to defend and he doesn't have a great plan for the future. And he sent poor old Craig Oliver in there with the specific instruction, I don't care how you do it, but make sure these debates don't happen. And if he's seriously saying that in what is going to be one of the most important elections in recent times, and one of the closest elections in recent times, if he's seriously saying that the British people are not entitled to see a debate between the two people, only 2 people in this country can be Prime Minister after May the 7th. One is David Cameron, the other is Ed Miliband. Nicola Sturgeon, Nigel Farage, Natalie Bennett, they will all accept that, only those 2. So the original plans from the broadcasters of 3 debates, one of which was Ed Miliband against David Cameron, that's what he's been trying to avoid the whole way through, and it's pathetic. It's morally cowardly and it's democratically totally wrong.
OK. You've been in Craig Oliver's shoes. You've been in that position. Are you telling me that at no stage these debates or a debate like this wasn't offered to Tony Blair and you may have said, not in your Nelly?
We didn't say not on your Nelly. We did, it's true, have discussions about it, and within Tony's team there were some who were passionately in favour, and there were some, and myself included, who were always very sceptical. But I think there's 2 big differences. The first is that was years and years and years ago, and the second thing is they've already happened. And David Cameron, no less, said at the time that they happened in 2010, these are now a fundamental part of our democratic process. He said that. So what has changed in the last 5 years? I'll tell you what's changed. He hasn't got a record to stand on. He hasn't got a plan for the future. And he's pathetic in the way that he's wriggling out. And do you know what, Eamon? People, your viewers would have much more respect if he actually came out and said, do you know what? I've decided there's not much in this for me. I've decided if I can just swan around the country, waving at people, coming out with my glib sound bites, I've got a better chance of winning. I'm not going to do it. We'd have more respect for him if he did that. Instead of which, he's pretending he wants them. He's pretending he cares about the Greens and the DUP and UKIP and all the rest of it. It's pathetic.
Well, it's interesting actually talking about Craig Oliver and all of this, and just to use a football analogy, I suppose it's like Arsenal being the FA Cup holders and then decided, look, we've got the cup, or Chelsea top of the league, and saying we don't want to play Man City or Man United next or whatever it is. We'll just stay where we are, thank you. So it's interesting you say he's telling Craig Oliver what to do. A lot of the interpretation today is that it's come from Craig Oliver to him.
Listen, I mean, people used to say this about me with Tony Blair. Tony Blair was the Prime Minister. He was the leader of the Labour Party. David Cameron is the person who is calling the shots here. Ed Miliband said yesterday he would happily go anywhere in the country at any time between now and the election to do a head-to-head live television debate chaired by somebody like you or Adam Bolton or Jeremy Paxman, whoever it might be, unmediated by the print media, to let the public see these people defend themselves and their policies. That is not difficult to organise, and he doesn't want to do it. He's worried that he's going to lose, and I'll tell you why. Because he goes around the place, when you've got all the newspapers saying Ed Miliband's terrible, when you've got them all sort of saying that Ed Miliband would be a hopeless Prime Minister, that's quite nice for David Cameron. But actually, if you saw the 2 of them side by side presenting themselves to the British public, Cameron's worried actually that might not be what the public end up thinking. And I've been part of the Labour team. I've been part of the Labour team preparing for these debates. It's another of the many reasons why I hope that they happen. And I've seen Ed Miliband in debate when I play David Cameron, if you want to know. And I'll tell you, David Cameron doesn't have a good record. People keep talking about what his strategy is in all this. We were talking the other day, Eamon, about my book about winning. The reason he didn't win in 2010 is because he doesn't have a strategy. He is all tactics. And what he's trying to do now is to fill the airwaves. Fair play to him. We're here talking about this. It's not going to change the world. It's not going to affect people's lives directly. The things that will affect people's lives directly are the economy and jobs and public services. Why can't he and Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg in one of them, and the other leaders in another one, why can't the public see that debate happening live? Why does it have to be mediated through a print media that is virtually completely on David Cameron's side?
Well, as a communications man, you would be aware that, this is either a masterstroke, this is either the right strategy, or this is going to backfire very badly on him. Do you think at the end of the day it does affect the way people vote? I mean, TV entertainment or debate is one thing, but perception, that how he would look distant, he may look aloof, he may look chicken, and all of this may come back to bite him. And also, is he worried more about Nigel Farage on TV than Ed Miliband?
I think that's one of the lines that the Conservatives are trying to put out, that this is about Farage. But it's not. This is about, he knows there's only two people who could be Prime Minister after May. He knows that it's him or it's Ed Miliband. It's Conservative-led government or a majority government, or it's a Labour-led government or a Labour majority government. They're the only options. All the rest, yes, if there was a coalition, all these other parties might come into play. But listen, I actually don't think ultimately, once people get to the voting stations, I don't think ultimately this did he or didn't he take part in the debate is going to compare with jobs or what's happened to the health service or benefit cuts and all the other things that are happening in this country. But I think it just underlines the utter contempt that David Cameron actually has for people. The politicians talk about disengagement from the political process and the cynicism there is about politics, and we can have a debate about where that all comes from. But surely you should treat the public with a little bit of respect and a little bit of courtesy. They ultimately are the boss. They're the people who decide who runs this country and who runs the government of this country. And they should have an informed decision. And in a modern democracy, where these debates have already happened, where television is a fundamental part of the way that our society works, the idea that the two people who could be Prime Minister do not, at least once, I think it should be more than once, but at least once, stand in front of the cameras, have nothing between them and the public but a screen and somebody like you mediating the debate. It's pathetic. You know what? People in America and people around Europe, they're looking at this debate and they're thinking, what sort of country is this? They think we're back in the Middle Ages. It's pathetic. And I just wish David Cameron had the guts actually to come out and say what his game really is. It's to avoid them because he thinks he could lose.